how much per day do you have to like divert from spending to saving and investing to get to $1 million by age 60? $18.
Really? This is episode 255 of the Token CEO podcast. I'm Erika. It's Thursday, February 2nd. We're getting the date right this time. We have a special episode. We have my friend Michelle Smith on with us. She is a financial advisor and professional. She helps me out a whole bunch, and she's got a lot of wisdom to share. Before we get into that, and speaking of wisdom to share, let's just give a big shout out to Omega Accounting Solutions. Omega Accounting Solutions makes this podcast and many other podcasts at Barstool Sports possible. What's great about Omega Accounting Solutions is that they are small business champions. So if you have a small business and you need help with your accounting or back office functions, Omega Accounting Solutions is an expert, and they can help you and your small business. The other big news is that if you employed people during COVID, you could be eligible for something called an employee retention credit, which could give you up to $26,000 per employee. The bad news is that this credit expires starting on March 31st. So if you want to take advantage of the employee retention credit, or you want to learn more about Omega Accounting Solutions, call 800-300-9ERC. That's 800-300-9ERC, 800-300-9ERC, or visit omegataxcredit.com/barstoolsports now. All right, so this interview is brought to you by Athletic Brewing. We have Michelle Smith. Michelle Smith has a brand called Wife to CFO. And what I love about Michelle Smith is that she makes talking about your finances approachable, not just for women, but I think especially for women. The other is that she just has some really good, simple, practical advice about getting your shit together with your money. We have a super open conversation about women and money, young people and money, what to do with your money, what happens when shit goes wrong in your life, and how that affects your money. So I really loved this conversation. I think you will too. And if nothing else, save $18 a day and you could be a millionaire. That's my biggest hint and takeaway from this conversation.
Okay. Oh my God. Bitch, it's cashmere.
Oh yeah, do you know about that?
No.
Oh,
that's actually awesome.
You want that?
I'm just taking a picture of that.
Oh, it's so funny. So it's actually a good story. So I did.
That's ridiculous.
So I had done this favor for John Steinberg. So John Steinberg, when I came to Barstool, was running this company called Cheddar. He hadn't sold it, and we were both kind of like building companies, and he was kind of building his company to sell. Like, it was all about investors, and it was all about like PR, and I was like trying to build this. And so he was like, hey, I have a show on, he had this short-lived interview show on some network. It was like, could you do it? So I was like, yes. So I wore this cashmere sweater that said feminine on it, was what I wore to the interview.
Okay.
It was a Friday afternoon. The interview aired. And
where did you buy that?
I bought it on the internet somewhere.
My God.
I found it on the LA or something. Like, I bought it somewhere. And so anyways, long story short, so I wore this sweater, and Deadspin had the same investor as Cheddar. And so the Deadspin people got the interview before it went out.
Oh.
And so when the episode dropped, one of the writers at Deadspin was like, oh my God, it's actually, I have it framed somewhere. It was like, listen to the Barstool Sports CEO and her like charming, unbelievable bullshit or something. It's actually a really good, we should actually dig it up. It's actually a really good story. So she publishes this article that's like, can you believe the CEO of Barstool's, bullshit? And then she was like, and she was wearing this feminine sweater. And so I went on Instagram, I posted a picture, and I was like, bitch, it's cashmere.
That is
and then someone made the pictures, and that's so funny.
Beyond.
Oh, it was so funny, the green meanie, but whatever.
I love that.
All right.
I'm snapping that before I leave.
Okay. All right. So, Michelle, tell us who you are, what you do, why you're here. We're going to jump right in.
Okay. So I am the CEO and founder of Source Financial Advisors,
Okay.
and a sub-brand like Your Work Like a Girl, Wife to CFO. And I am all about giving women confidence and clarity with their money so that they freaking finally just own it and realize it's not that complicated. It just takes a little bit of discipline and a plan.
Okay, I love that. And what do you think, where do women go wrong with money, do you think? You have a lot of experience on this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say they go wrong. Like, it's a setup for failure, right?
Okay.
Like, women don't think they have a math gene. Women, it's like an exclusive jargon, like everything else. Like the first time you get like a serious medical diagnosis, there's like jargon you have to get through, right? So it's patriarchal. Money's still, it's set up that way. Less than 20% of women do what I do for a living. Women do this differently. Women connect with women differently. We have high EQ. So like, it's a hard backdrop to overcome. And like, combine that with like, when you were a little girl, were you always the first one to raise your hand in a classround? Like, we think twice about that stuff, right? And so it's just a setup that just has to be overcome.
And how do you help women do that? Like, what's your philosophy on it? Like, how do you think about that?
Well, it's kind of simple, right? Like, okay, you're in a voluntary money coma at any age, right? Whether you willingly, right? Like, let's say you got married and you're like, okay, we're going to focus on his career and I'm going to be the CEO of the house and you're going to go be the CEO of a company. Okay, well, don't take your hands off the steering wheel of the money. Like, you need to know your bank account login. You need to know what's in your name. Like, if you do it early, it's not that hard to make that a financial habit, right? And like, those conversations can be loaded with couples, and money is like one of the huge reasons for divorce.
That's right. It's so emotional. I think money coma is that what she said? The money coma is it's a big concept.
It's real.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think women, like, I've obviously lived through this, but I think one of the things, it's like out of sight, out of mind, because it is uncomfortable and it requires like a level of discipline, and it can force uncomfortable conversations with someone you're very close to or very dependent on. And I think the other thing that happens even before women get married or people get married is I think women are kind of avoidant even in that time, and then it just gets snowballs. So if you were talking to like a 20-something, what would you say about like thinking about your finances?
I would say, okay, so one of the biggest things that freaks people out, not just women, is like this word budget, right? And so let's talk about this for a second, because, right, like if I were to say to you right now, or these two, you want an extra $1 million after taxes when you're like 55 so you can like check out and like go do whatever you want to do, or, you know, whatever age it is. Like, I'm just picking a number. You're 25 years old. Okay. So how much per day do you have to like divert from spending to saving and investing to get to $1 million by age 60? $18.
Really?
It's investing.
Ladies, we could do that.
Well, think my freaking cafe mocha every day is $7.50. Like, I'm not giving that up, but I'm going to give so at age 25, $18 a day will get you $1 million extra by the time you're 60 if it's invested, right? And there's a whole lot of assumptions.
Caveat.
But whatever. Like, generally speaking, okay. So now, what about the 35-year-olds listening? Okay, that number's $41.
Still very manageable. Even $51.
45. That number's just over 100. Okay, it sounds like a lot per day, but like I call this compute the urge to splurge. It's not don't spend. It's compute the urge to splurge. Total Michelleism, you know those. Well, if you spend $1,000, that's 10 days worth of that 100. Like, you'll start to think about it differently if you just kind of like bracket this stuff in that way. And then like budgeting becomes fun. You're like, oh, what do I want to do? What do I want to create, right? And like, you don't sit down at any age and think that, oh, I'm going to know exactly what I want in 30 years. But if you talk about it now, you make it real. And every year when you change your mind, like I change my mind 100 times a month, right? So do you. Like, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I want to be? What do I want to spend on? Like, It's not that complicated. It's all about diverting money from spending to investing.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really all what
Yeah.
right? And putting the meaning behind what you want your money to do.
Let's talk about Athletic Brewing. January almost in the rear view, but you can still give dry a try. So if you're tired of feeling bloated, you're like, I'm drinking too much, or I have too many calories, or I want to have the enjoyment of having a beer without actually having a beer, Athletic Brewing is great for you. What's great about Athletic Brewing Company is that they're America's leading non-alcoholic craft brewer. You can enjoy great tasting craft brews and still crush your 9 to 5. So what's awesome, Captain Cons wrote me the other day, he's like, I love Athletic Brewing. When I don't feel like drinking on a Sunday night and I'm watching football or I'm going out, I have like 3 IPAs. I feel great the next day. I still feel like I was social. I didn't have all the calories. I don't have all the bloat, but I felt like I was social and had a great time without consuming any alcohol. What's great about Athletic Brewing is that they make a wide selection of near beers, including IPAs, Goldens, Darks, light brews, and more. If you're a new Athletic customer, you can score 20% off your first order of 2 6-packs or more when you visit athleticbrewing.com and use code TOKENCEO at checkout. You got to do this by March 31st, but go to athleticbrewing.com and use code TOKENCEO and you can get 20% off your order of 2 6-packs. And I also think there's something a little bit bigger, which you've helped me with, which is it's really getting a sense of control and empowerment. Like there's kind of this like underlying sense of despair. Like maybe your husband controls all your money. Maybe you don't work. Maybe you have a spending problem. Maybe you have credit card debt. Like, you know, I don't know, maybe you've lost your job. Like, I think having a goal of like, hey, I'm looking to do something like this. Like, it could be having a retirement home. It could be traveling the world. It could be buying expensive clothing. Like what it doesn't, there's no
Like
judgment
no
on
judgment,
like whatever
like
the thing is.
Like if that's your thing,
let's
finance it.
Finance yourself.
Finance
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Right. It's just choices. And
Yeah.
it's like, I say this all the time, like I have the best job in the world. I talk to people that are cool and that I like all day long.
Yep.
About money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just conversations. Like women love to talk. We love to converse. We're really amazing communicators with that high EQ. Like putting finance into that way of thinking, like it's just conversations.
Yeah, it's the same thing it's talking about.
And then it's like
shoes.
modeling out.
Yeah.
What if I do that? What if I do that? What if I do that? Like how intimate do we talk to our girlfriends about? Like money's never in that conversation.
Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
How would you think about like, how do you help women get over that hurdle? Like, how do you think about that? Like, I think you have a nice way about you where you kind of break things down into really simple pieces. I think one of the things that I don't like about men in your profession and the men I've worked with in your profession is that they mystify it.
It's very complicated,
very
Erika.
Complicated.
It's very, honey.
It's very complicated. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Yes. That's right. So how do you...
Makes me sick.
Yeah,
like,
it's
that's
so
why I
annoying.
wake fucking ridiculous.
Yep.
But like women have bought into this. I don't have a math gene. Oh, they throw the words around. It's like secretive.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is very complex. No, it's not. Save your money. Look at your budget. Don't be scared of the word budget. Call it whatever you want. Call it your lifestyle plan. Call it your whatever you want to call a budget. I don't care. But everything comes down to cash flow. Cash flow in and cash flow out. In has to be bigger than out. Mm-hmm. Like, it is what I do. It is breaking it down. The first thing I do is I just blow up the jargon, right?
Yeah,
I have conversations.
Totally.
Talk to me. What do you want to do in 3 years? That's like way easier than where do you want to retire? 27.
Yeah,
You're,
that's
like,
right.
You're gonna.
I don't even know where I want to retire.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Like we don't.
Yeah.
Right. You gotta like play what if and have fun with this. Like money is so inspirational. Like what you can do with it, how you can share it, it's so awesome. But like you have to have, it's a mindset shift. It really is that mindset. Like I say this all the time. Like how many times have you procrastinated something? And then like when you really commit like an hour to do it, and then like it's done in 40 minutes and you're like, why?
Yeah.
This is the same thing.
Yeah,
So
I
like,
would agree with that.
I want everyone listening to this, this is resonating. And like those of you who are just like shaking your heads yes right now, get off this podcast and like sit down and commit some time to like, okay, I want to understand this. I want to have fun with it. I want to sit and talk to somebody about what I see in the next year, in the next 3 years. How can I figure out how to have that extra $1 million whenever you want it by? You might want it by 40. Okay, let's back into it.
It's just, what do you need to do? It's
just
math.
Yeah. But it's actually simple math.
Yep. And math can be a language. It's really, where do you want to be?
It's a love language.
It's a love language. So for our Valentine's Day, like it's a love language.
You knew I was putting that in
Yeah,
somewhere.
no, it's amazing. You're so good like that. But it's also, I think that it's loving, it is a little bit about loving being honest with yourself and loving yourself. And also reward, you're going to reward yourself for good choices. Like I find that I like instant gratification, right? Like the pair of shoes, the jacket, like it's impulse driven. But if you can coach yourself and teach yourself how to feel that same rush from like, I just saved $100 today, or I saved $10 today. It is
but like,
a rush.
you know, the best way I have found, right? I call this find your non-negotiable spending categories, right? We've done this.
Yeah.
Like, give me the 3 or 4 things that you never want to say no to.
Yep.
If you can, like, I'm always going to buy the shoes.
Yep.
I am always going to buy the expensive wine. I am going to go travel where I want to travel.
Yeah, those are 3 good things.
I'm going to like take care of my son the way like
that you want your son.
He goes to sporting events and always has the band.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Okay, like that's important to me.
Yep.
Well, now there's 14 other categories that I'm like, oh, I just mindlessly spend there.
Yeah, that's
so like
right.
if I know those 4 things every day, every week, every month, every year, do it for me, like it becomes easier to like let the other shit, like people fail at budgeting and it's like dieting. Like you're not going to, like a hardcore, like intermittent fasting.
Right.
Like, that just sucks.
Oh, it sucks. I actually think it makes you gain weight. I don't get it. Did you
Lauren,
say that?
no, Lauren
lost
no, Lauren owns
Lauren
that.
is
no,
someone
Lauren
we work
owns
with. Lauren is very good at intermittent fasting.
However, like most people aren't. It's too drastic.
Yeah.
So like if your cash in is less than your cash out, well, the cash out has to change.
Yeah.
But if you look at your numbers and say, oh my gosh, I have to cut my spending by 25% to like finance what I want in the future, like it's not going to work if you do it.
It's too dramatic. It's
just
too dramatic.
It's
and
gonna
nobody likes to
fail.
diet. I think that's the other thing. Like I hate dieting.
Like, oh God.
I hate being
well,
like I have to work out every
your
day.
Fork.
Yeah, you just can't run out your. That's a good line.
Can't.
But it's the same thing in your finances, which is, I think the whole thing, not just for women, really for anybody, is like just flip it, right? What do you want to have? Like, where do you want to be?
Yeah, like, talk to me about next year. What do you see for yourself? What do you want to change?
Yep.
Like, these are the conversations, right? And then the disconnect, though, is, okay, how do I get there?
Yep.
Exactly like we're talking about.
Yep.
Okay, let's look at cash in. Let's look at cash out. Let's change the entire relationship we have with this budget, because changing that now finances the vision, the dream, and then you get to adapt it.
Totally. And I think the other thing you're saying, though, that is so important is you don't have to deny yourself the things you love. Like you're like wine, shoes, vacation, kid events.
I'm so deep, aren't I?
But like, if you guys had your 4 categories, what are your 4 categories?
What do you never want to sacrifice?
What do you always want to spend your money on?
Probably clothes.
Great.
Yeah.
Food.
Like
going out,
alcohol.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
A good gym membership.
A good gym
So
membership.
annoying, but I like going to the classes, so I'd rather splurge there.
Well, there you go.
Okay, so like Soul Cycle or whatever.
Like
it is.
whatever.
Yeah, that's
And
more than like a $20 gym membership, but I know that I'm gonna like really do it.
And you enjoy it.
yes. So that can never change for you, or it will fail.
Yeah.
You have to, like those 4 things just came out of you guys so quick. I have no idea how old you are, but that's like, no, this is huge. This is huge. Like, find that $18 a day now on the other shit. Do you want $1 million at age 60? An extra million?
That'd be great. Yeah.
$18.
Yeah.
Like, you can't find $18
Yeah.
a day?
Right.
Multiply that
Do you
by
think about it this way? How do you guys think about it?
I don't know. I don't actually really think about it. Like,
See, this is where I'm the same way. I was like, I'm just
But
going to work
that's-
hard and somebody else will deal with
why I
this.
was
And I was like,
born.
exactly.
That's
it's
what-
avoidant. You're like,
It is
figure
avoidant.
yourself out.
It's avoidant. I was
But
super
see,
avoidant.
this
Yeah.
is like right here. This is like American women right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is what is going on. Because nobody frames it as like this picture that it like feels so far off. And like, let's look at like financial planning. What does that word do for you?
Yeah, boring.
No,
Oh.
I would just
Yeah.
ask my dad.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it is funny because it's just avoid. You're like, it's going to work out.
Or you're kicking the can to the curb. Not it's going to work out. You're like, oh, I got plenty of time.
Yeah. Right.
It's kicking the can to the curb by not understanding like this basic thing, which is like money. Who said this? Tom Hanks. Money doesn't solve all your problems, but boy, does it make life easier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. That's a
You
good
have
way to put it.
choices. Like,
Yep.
who doesn't want choices? Like, I'm never at, like, okay, I grew up and like my friend Linda and I talked about like wanting that Schwinn bicycle.
Okay.
Like, I was not asking anybody if I could buy that. I'm like, I am buying that bike. I am saving. Like, that's how I view it. Like, I'm going to get what I want
Yep.
with like a little bit of discipline, a lot of hard work, but like, you need to know what you want to go get it.
Yeah.
It's
right.
that's what this comes down to. And like, don't ever, like my great grandmother got divorced in the late 50s, kicked out my abusive great grandfather, and she said something to me, I will never forget this. She was like, don't you ever get too far away from your own paycheck.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it eliminates choices.
Yeah.
You have to depend on. I'm not saying that if you're in a great relationship, that partnership can't, but you can't go into a money coma.
Yeah.
You're going to be, that movie ends really badly.
Really badly, no matter how it
And
gets
even
cut.
if you're a busy CEO,
Yep. It still ends badly.
and
Yeah.
and you're just like busy making it, and you're not even understanding how it's going out the door, who's in control of it, why, what, like, either
Completely.
or. You
Yeah.
could be a divorced woman who gave up her paycheck to be the CEO. You could be the CEO of Barstool Sports, and you're just busy, and you're making it happen, and you're crushing it. That loss of control and that voluntary money coma is the same thing.
Yeah. It actually doesn't matter how you end up
It
in the money
doesn't.
coma. Like, I think about my life. Like, I didn't grow up with any money. And so I knew I liked clothes too. I'm like Mackenzie. I liked clothes. So I knew that I had to get a busing job, a waitressing job, a water slide job. Like, I took every job, babysitting jobs. I took every job imaginable so that I could get what I want. And there's something happens, I think, when you go to college, or maybe it's right after college, and you start to be influenced by other people, and you start to fall into a more, you're like on the autopilot track of like, you're going to go get married, or you're going to be this, you're going to be that. But you kind of lose that correlation of like, I do this, I get that, I'm going to get this for it. And the two pieces of it are like, I'm going to get this for it, could be something that's now, but more importantly, it's for you in the future when you don't know what the this is,
You don't
but you're going to
know.
know that a this exists.
Come on, like, all marriages end.
Mm-hmm.
It's either divorce or death. Like,
It's true.
like,
True.
so, like, you have to like, there's so much power. Like, money is, it gives you choices. It gives you the power to say yes or no. It gives you the autonomy. It gives you the independence. Like, you're an equal. Like, I don't care if you're the one earning it or not. Like, if you're in a partnership and your contribution is like, so he can go crush it, or you're the CEO and you have somebody, like, that's equal.
Yeah,
like,
no.
everybody's holding their end of the table up.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think it's kind of the Tom Hanks quote. Like, even if you're single, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're like, I just want peace of mind. I just want to, like, I think what people need is like...
And what define peace of mind?
Right.
The meaning behind the money.
Yeah, that's right.
Is super important.
Yeah.
And like, I'm doing this 30 years, but I've really been like devoting this to women for 17.
Yeah.
Like, no one has ever walked in my office and said, here's what I'd like to talk about. How can we make sure my lifestyle is less?
Yeah, it's true.
Not one human being.
Yeah.
Nobody you want some semblance of your lifestyle forever.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it to fall off a cliff. Well, you're driving the car.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Like, either you're going to control your money or it's going to control you.
Or somebody else controls it. You know, it's so funny. So I'm watching the Madoff documentary. Did you watch it?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yes.
I cannot get enough of it. I'm like sleepless at night.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with this thing. The reason I'm obsessed with it is not only was he like an evil person and a crook, the amount of work that they put into manufacture a trading business was it's just staggering. Like the amount of work to manufacture and fake something. But what it also made me realize is how easily deluded people are by promises or assurances.
The business of social proof.
Yeah.
I mean, this one's in it, that one's in it. It became one name after another, and it became this aspirational, like...
And he was a genius, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm going to kick you out." I mean, it was just... the answer of no was genius.
Talk about the ultimate patriarchy.
Completely. But I think the thing that's interesting is that not being in touch with your money it's not just a gender thing, because all those people who gave him, $60 billion or however much it was, they weren't really in touch with their money either. They couldn't look at it. They couldn't touch it. They couldn't get it out.
Right, like,
they couldn't get anyone on the phone.
If you don't know your user ID and password for your bank account, or are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's right.
If you're that person right now, get that shit together 11 minutes later.
Yeah, 100%.
That's one real easy step. Where's my money?
Yeah.
Nobody should have that.
And it's so many people
should have
that. So many people have that.
You do. You go do. I'm too busy. Yes. Or the woman in the marriage where I can't believe how many women still get an allowance.
Is that how it works?
Ew.
Yeah.
Here's your $4,000 a month for groceries. Everything else is in my name. Here's your account. And it gets replenished, and you have to ask. That, you can habituate up to that in a marriage, especially a high net worth one. And the control gets worse and worse and worse. And I am blown away by how many women accept an allowance.
Really? That's interesting. I think, sorry, just to go back one quick second. So we had Pinky Cole on a couple months ago. I love Pinky Cole. So Pinky Cole's the founder of Slutty Vegan. So she's basically made a vegan fast food business, which is kind of cultural, and it's sassy, and she's just a thing unto herself. But she and Joanne, Joanne, they're so similar, which is so funny, this Atlanta black woman who's got the hair and the colors out to everywhere, and she's making, she's making vegan burgers, and then Joanne is in a tower in San Francisco. But they both check their money every day.
Rain.
Yeah, in the rain. Every day, obsessively. And I've actually started doing that, which is, it's a really good feeling, which is okay, it's there, it's there, and then it's just good to be.
It's your little financial museum. Go visit it.
Just go visit every day. Go visit. Just say hi.
Hey.
It's like a zoo.
It's a petting zoo.
It's like when you go into your closet in the morning and you're like, "Ooh, this jacket makes me happy," or "Those shoes cost too much." It's the same with, you're like, okay, it just makes you in touch with it.
You also, doing that, less can go wrong with fraud. And all kinds of things.
100%.
Do you know, you catch little things, and somebody else isn't going to catch that you didn't do that.
Right. Exactly.
The credit cards are pretty good now. The banks are pretty good now. But that's super important. You've got to check your credit every month.
Yeah.
Who's going to do that for you?
Yeah. That's
Has
right.
anybody ever said, "Oh, here's your credit score"?
Yeah.
No. No, you have to check your credit score every month. You can do it free on your bank's website, and it's not considered like a hard hit to your credit. You're not you're just looking. Like, you have to be the one to make sure that your numbers are yours.
Yeah, that's right. And I also think it forces you, like, the one thing I think I'm getting better at this is that when you splurge, you got to look at your splurge. You got to be like,
go Michelle, go.
Go Michelle, go. Like, wow, I fucking just spent that money on that. Or when you save, it's go Michelle, go, where you're like, I just saved money from that. You know what I mean? Like, tonight I was like, let's go out to dinner. And then it's like, no, let's not go out to dinner.
But
There's food.
Look at how
fridge.
cool that is.
Yeah.
You're like equally excited about that choice.
Right, exactly. And anyone can be excited about those choices.
Because you're not in a deprivation mindset.
Yeah.
You're in a choice mindset.
Yeah.
Like, when the budget controls you, because you're like, people who are poor and rich avoid budgeting.
Yeah.
For very different reasons. If you're poor, you're like, oh, why will a budget help?
Yeah.
If you're rich, well, why do I need a budget?
Yeah.
Everyone needs a budget, right? It will control you if you don't control it. And like, doing it makes that happen, that shift to like an excitement versus a deprivation.
Okay, so one more interruption. Let's talk about Rocket Money. Rocket Money used to be known as Truebill. Now they have a way better name called Rocket Money, and they're a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps you lower your bills all in one place. I think they call this like contextual integration, because that's exactly what we're talking about. So if you've signed up to Roblox and this and that and Spotify and this and that and 5 different YouTube channels, credit card streaming networks, you name it, Rocket Money can help you make sense of all of that. And they can help you stop wasting your money on stuff that you don't actually use and you certainly don't care about. Over 80% of people who have subscriptions forget they have them. Hand up. Rocket Money will help you easily identify these subscriptions, and even better yet, they make them easy to cancel. Everybody knows what a pain in the ass it is to cancel something when the company doesn't want you to cancel it. So what's great about Rocket Money is they've saved the average person up to $720 per year, which is pretty awesome. You could put that into the stock market or invest or just save it or pay off your credit card debt. Plenty of other great purposes. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/token. That's rocketmoney.com/token. rocketmoney.com/token. Now back to Michelle. I also think for women, it's kind of like as you get older, you guys don't see this yet, but like we would see this more, where your options, your responsibilities become greater. Your heart is running around out in the world in the form of like children or animals or things that you just worry about. And your circles, I think one of the things I hate about middle-aged women, which is that it's just the circles get small. Like, I think people become less curious and less they become more risk adverse and less exploratory for a whole bunch of reasons. I'm not critical on the reasons, but I think pushing yourself to stay connected and with, like, I love that I work with 20-somethings. Like, I will always work with 20-somethings. I feel so young.
My whole company is younger than
100%,
me.
which is a great thing.
It's a great synchronicity. Like, they need our experience. We need their energy.
Yeah, and the youth. But I also think that if you get to the like, oh fuck moment of somebody dies, you have a sick child, you lose your job, your husband loses, your partner loses his job, something bad happens, and you haven't taken care of your money, I think it really makes things like excruciating. Like, things that are bad are
something that big, learning anything big and foreign in a crisis.
Yeah, tough.
It's really exponentially harder. Like,
almost impossible, I would say.
Life happens.
Yeah.
You don't know. Life happens. And as you get older, you're right, more shit happens.
Yeah.
And consequences are deeper.
Yeah, that's right. Like, I had last night, I got a text from like one of my really, really, really good friends. And she was like, hey, I didn't want to tell you this before the holidays, but I just got a double mastectomy. Like, she's like, yesterday I got a double mastectomy. And it's like, oh my God, like, it's so upsetting. But like, she didn't see that coming. now she's dealing with cancer. She's in pain. She's got a whole bunch of medical things. Her longevity is in question. Imagine being like, fuck, and I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. And that's, I think, the thing that everyone should try to avoid, which is everybody has pain in their life. Everybody has choices in their life. Everyone encounters some type of crisis. Yeah. Make this not the crisis.
Yeah.
Like, let the crisis be the crisis.
And plan for the unexpected.
Yeah. Totally.
Like, make a plan for the unexpected so that you're like, oh, at least I got this financially.
Yeah.
It's like put that to bed versus having that and then being equally as worried about the money behind it, right?
Exactly.
So it
just really compounds.
It comes down to choices.
Okay, I love that. What else can we say, ladies? Is this helpful for you?
Yeah, I think so. I like it. It's insightful. I was wondering, like, this might be a stupid question, but does your
stop.
Okay, not a stupid question. Does where you keep your money in the bank, is there a certain bank that's better than
another? As long as they're insured banks and it's not flybynight.com, right? I mean, but let's talk about a bank versus investing.
Yeah.
Because a bank account is a deferred spending account.
Right.
That is a museum that you can take your shit out of easily.
Yeah.
Figuring out how much it should be invested, right? Because those numbers I gave you before, if you're 25, save $18 a day. If you're 35, save 40. That's assuming you're investing it. It's out of the bank and it's in an account that's earning 7% a year.
Do you guys have brokerage accounts?
I have an E-Trade, yeah.
Okay, you have an E-Trade. Yeah. Do you have brokerage? Do you guys have IRAs?
401ks? Do you participate in it? Right? Yeah. So same thing. Yeah, there you go.
You guys match.
We do match. That was a big deal.
That's 5%.
It's a huge deal.
Oh my God, our CFO was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, you have to match.
You have to. But, right, so no, to answer it again, the bank doesn't
No, you can keep that part in.
Yeah. And it's really cool. Okay, here's a perfect example of the patriarchy, right? So there's this new tax bill called Secure Act 2.0, right? And there's 100 things in it. But if it gets passed, a cool thing starting in 2024, if your employer has this option and adds it to a 401k, you can defer $1,000 of your contribution into an emergency savings account. Because right when you put it into a 401k, you can't really touch it for a while, which is good.
Unless you do Roth.
Yeah, Roth, but still there's a 5-year hold and all that.
Do you think Roth or traditional?
I think Roth is a great idea, and the younger you are, the better, because tax-free growth beats the shit out of taxation. Any would you rather keep your money or walk to Washington and give it to the IRS? Call me crazy, right? So there's a Rothification happening of all retirement accounts. There is.
Which means what? That you can get it out before you retire?
No, it means that things are moving to become more Rothified.
Which means what?
Which means tax-free growth.
Tax-free growth.
Tax-deferred growth. And you don't have to take it out at maximum distribution ages, and you'll never pay taxes on it.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Versus regular IRAs and 401ks, where when you take it, first of all, you have to start taking it at a certain age, and then
it's
your
taxed.
Income tax. So even if you don't want it or need it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just needing to move it from the right pocket.
And you have to pay tax
yeah.
on it.
So
that sucks.
But again, this is think about that for a minute, right? Within the Secure Act 2.0, which I don't know, 1,400 pages long, that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. Having these conversations about just organically coming up like that, and then not so hard.
Do that. Yeah, that's right.
Not so hard.
But
okay, saving is not investing.
Do you
investing
put money into your
wealth.
E-Trade every month?
Not every month, but my brother's a financial planner, so he usually sends me
a reminder.
To invest
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to have a brother.
Right.
Totally. It's like your brother or your dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For me,
Which
it's
is
my dad.
It's your brother or your dad. Why
Well-
isn't it the moms? We should get moms on this.
Because of exactly why I'm on this couch with you right now. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because women don't own it. They don't claim their finances.
Yeah.
It's you do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was like that.
Yes.
Now I'm like,
and you're pretty
now
freaking smart.
Now I'm a maniac.
Now you're
now
you're
I'm
in your museum fucking daily.
I love my
Do you think
museum.
it's generational too, though? Because you figure the parents who raised our parents. Like
yes,
what
yes,
have.
and yes,
Like,
and
it's-
I don't see enough of a shift yet to make me buy
I don't
that.
think it's generational.
I don't see enough.
I think
Maybe,
actually not enough is changing.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
I was
not.
exactly like you at your age.
And how come 30 years later, there's still only 20% of women go into financial services?
Yeah.
Like, this is a great job. Like, I do this shit all day.
Yeah.
I like help people fund a dream.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome. Like, 70% of real estate brokers are women. 70% of shrinks are women. This job is the psychology of money with the flexibility to build what you want on your schedule. Like, it's a great career.
That's a great ad for that career. I love
It's
that.
a great.
How do you get
like,
started?
I
This is a
remember.
good
Do you
pivot,
know?
Michelle.
Stephanie Rule from? She's the NBC anchor at night now. Stephanie.
No.
She's awesome. She said the best thing. I had her do a lunch for my clients like 5 years ago, and she was like, "Okay, if you're going to sell something, like sell shit that pays you.
Yeah.
If you have to learn a product, or if you have to learn whatever it is, pharmaceuticals, money, this like." I'm not saying anything's wrong with selling something easy, but like if you're going to sell,
At least get paid for it.
like fucking get paid.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good quote. Okay, so let's just break it down and summarize, Michelle. You are in your 20s. What do you need to be doing?
You need to be doing everything that we just talked about. You need to be sitting down and saying what's coming in versus what's going out. What do I see in 5 years? Do I want to get married? Do I want to defer that? If I get married, how am I going to make sure, right? The stronger financial conversations that young women have with their partners.
With themselves first, I would argue.
And then with their partners makes for a more successful, your odds have doubled that you're going to make it.
Okay.
Like these uncomfortable conversations, like if you can't have these when you're dating, that shit doesn't get better. Like you're not going to have better conversations. Like do it early when things are like happy and you're like having a lot of
easy.
sex. And,
Yeah.
Right. Like, come on. Like just
the less sex you have, the harder
less
the
sex
money
you have, the harder the
conversations become. That's actually the biggest
It just
takeaway
went
from
right
the
to
show.
it. There,
Yeah.
you just have sex.
Yep, exactly.
And talk about money.
Yeah,
during
talk about money. Okay, and what about in your 30s?
in your 30s, so you're probably get it, if you want that, like either you're about to bump up your career, you're about to
Yep.
like, right, you're starting to be like, what's your track, right?
Yep.
If you're deciding like, hey, no, I actually do, we want to focus on his career, right? I prefer to call it that. Like you're going to focus on somebody's career or you're going to both focus on your own, and then you're going to need a lot of money
Staff,
to,
yeah.
right? You're going to need your people, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, just like look at this and say, okay, it's all about where do I see myself in 1, 3, or 5 years? Don't make it 20 or 30. It's too
It's
out
just
there,
too far. Who
right?
knows? I have no idea.
Like break down the word financial plan, like obliterate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's boring. It's like make this shiny.
Yeah.
Go chase your shiny. Go figure out what, like, I always say I follow my energy. Like, I think finding your passion is so big and like it's such a grand, like, not everybody knows that, but like, where your energy,
You know what's interesting to you.
follow that, whether it's a career, whether it's your money. Okay, wow, that's continuing to be interesting to me. I have a girlfriend right now. She's a star. She's like in her late 40s. She had a baby on her own 3 years ago. And like, she has an opportunity to move to Paris for a couple. I'm like, you don't have a husband. You got a fucking go. Like,
Yeah.
I can't wait to come spend a month with you,
Yeah.
right? Like follow your energy. Find like, and having this nest egg built up allows you to say yes, like that. Imagine if that came up in her life.
Yeah.
And she was like, shit, if I just didn't have that fucking coffee every day.
Exactly. If I had a coffee, not a latte.
Right.
Yeah. But that's truly how.
That's
but
what
you
I'm
can
saying.
never
like,
get it back.
These
You can
are
never
these
get it back.
things that, like, do you want to be looking at the opportunity in that moment of a lifetime? Like, there's a lot of opportunities in your life, right? Just like there's a soulmate at every stage of your life because your needs change, right? Like, you don't ever want to regret that you had to say no because you didn't control your money.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, God, that's sad.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think there's this concept like you'll deal with it later, or I think that
Kicking the can to the curb,
just
man.
don't kick the can to the curb. The other thing is people are like, oh, when I get fuck you money, then I'll do whatever. And it's like, don't actually wait for that.
Well,
like,
create your $1 million fuck you pot. I just told you how.
Yeah, that's
18,
right.
40, and $100 a day. But
Yeah.
like, you can, what's your number?
Yeah, that's right.
What is your fuck you number?
Yep.
Let's fund that shit now.
Yeah, that's right. How do people find you? Like, how do people follow you? How do people find you?
So you can find me, well, my website is sourcefa for financialadvisor.com.
Yep.
My sub brand is wife, the number 2, CFO.
Yep.
Right? Transitioning from just being a wife to being the CFO of your life. But that could be girl to CFO. That could be any daughter to CFO,
Yep.
right? Like across the board. And yeah, you
That's where I
yeah,
find you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for doing this.
Thank you
That was so great.
much.
All right, so that's it for today. Thank you to Michelle for joining us. Go save your $18 or your $40 or $100 or just cut back on stuff you don't use, you don't want, and you don't need, and save for your financial future and get prepared for your financial future. If you haven't already, subscribe to Token CEO. You can follow us. You can follow me at Erika. You can follow Token CEO everywhere at Token CEO, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.